Question. What is RDMAP and why is it such a mouthful? It is the main innovation funding which is linked to the government's missions, and we're looking to partner with business to break new ground in the consumer-led flexibility space and also in ultra-long duration energy storage to a 2030 timeline. So no one can accuse us of not being ambitious. The thing that makes it really exciting for me is that we have permission to do things differently, to move fast and to take risks. Now, a little bit about me first. I'm an analyst by trade. I've been working in climate and energy for about 15 years now, and I do love a model. This is me at the CCC in 2019, basically willing the net zero target into existence. The Technicolor slides weren't actually my slides on the day, but I do quite like it. I think it works. After a decade at the CCC, I then went on to the Treasury, where I had the pleasure of leading a climate analytical unit, and I had a whole portfolio of things. I was really ambitious. Some of it worked, some of it didn't work. I could probably talk for a very long time about that, so I won't. But I did want to show one thing, which I think is one of the best things I did at the Treasury, which is taking my daughter into work. And you can see there is a Winston Churchill duck, which comes from the Churchill War Rooms, which as civil servants you get to visit. I highly recommend it. And this is in the centre of the Treasury, so right in the middle of the beautiful Treasury building, there is this big circular space which is called the drum. And I told my daughter that it was called the drum, and she immediately ran into the middle and tried to sound the drum. So there she is, sounding the drum. Now, moving on to the energy challenges. So I think our starting question has to be, where can innovation drive the biggest impact to 2030? I've borrowed this modelling from Progressive. I like it because it's a simplified view. It's energy systems modelling, 1 month, January 2024. And you can see basically what our current system looks like. So you have wind there in green with dispatchable power, topping it up to the line at the top, the black line, which is demand. And what they've done is used weather forecast and demand forecasts and projected it forward to 2030 using FES scenarios mix, which fed into the Clean Power 2030 Action Plan. And what you can see is that demand hasn't actually shifted that much, but you have a completely different story in terms of these periods of surplus generation, and then also longer periods where dispatchable or other solutions are coming in. And what jumps out of this for me is, first of all, the value of a more flexible system really leaps out of this chart. And then secondly, I think there's a really clear role here for low-cost, ultra-long duration energy storage alongside clean dispatchable power. So we absolutely do need to look at energy as a system, and our hosts are brilliant, absolutely brilliant at doing that. But as a systems thinker, this isn't the only system that I think about. So another system I think about is the innovation ecosystem. And one of the things that's really struck me in the 5 months that I've been in the role is that it's still an incredibly fragmented space, and it must be quite difficult to navigate. And I'm not really happy with that at the moment. So I think there's huge potential for us to innovate in how we do things. My job is to make it as easy as possible for everyone to navigate. To the extent that it's a complex funding landscape, I think what we risk is just creating lots and lots of innovators who are very good at navigating that landscape, but who perhaps haven't had the time to really focus on their product and their routes to market because they've been trying to do things that we shouldn't be asking them to do. So yes, I believe there's absolutely a role for an integrated pipeline running through all the public finance institutions. But I think we need to also look more broadly, and if there are things that are not currently working, then I want to hear what they are, because I'm going to do my best to fix them. Okay, and this brings us on to the R&D Missions Accelerator Programme. So mission-led government, what is it? I've got 2 quotes here from our Prime Minister, which I will not read out, but I would like to read the 3rd quote, which is from George S. Patton, who was a US general in the Second World War. And he said, never tell people how to do things. Tell them what you want to achieve, and they will surprise you with their ingenuity. That's absolutely how we're looking to do things. We're, of course, indebted to the work of Mariana Mazzucato. And just to be totally clear, because sometimes this gets a little bit lost, these are the 5 missions. And the R&D Mission Accelerator Programme is 500 million to 2030 across these 5 missions. Basically, it's a conversation. So the way it works is government, in our case, it's Department for Energy and Energy Security and Net Zero. They come up with the problem statements. We at UKRI then work with business and the third sector to translate those into challenge statements, put in place the R&I programme, Research and Innovation Programme, to deliver it. And then it goes back to government, and government puts in place the pull-through plan. And the pull-through plan is the set of things that the government signs up to undertaking in order to clear the pathway for the innovations to scale. And then this is what it looks like, and it's actually a loop. So the green bit here, you can see the pull-through plan, and the pull-through plan is actually then feeding back through into how we think about challenges and where we focus our efforts and our energy. Okay, my final slide on the programme itself. So why do I think this is exciting? It is Patrick Valence's brainchild. A lot of the design features come from his time at the Vaccines Task Force. It's problem-driven. I think it's pretty radical. I find that quite exciting. We remain laser-focused on how we secure outcomes for the public. In terms of leveraging investment, it is ambitious, I would say, very ambitious, and this comes from the world of pharma. So we're looking to co-develop solutions with industry and the third sector, and we're looking to unlock 3-to-1 levels of investment. In terms of accelerated impact, I've mentioned the pull-through plan is central, and then finally, just to really highlight the agile nature. So we are taking a fast-fail approach, and we are absolutely embracing pivots in how we look at this. Okay, and this now gets us right to the heart of what we're doing in the energy space, and this is my part of the programme. So of the 500 million, I have 100 million or thereabouts for clean energy, and specifically the CP 2030 part of the clean energy mission. And we are launching, one of them's launched, one of them's in the pipeline, 2 challenges. So the first challenge is consumer-led flexibility, where we're looking to deliver at least 2 gigawatts by 2030. And a couple of things that you'll see coming out in the next few months. Firstly, along the most rapid track, we have a £1 million pot, which is, I'm calling a market access trailblazer, slightly grandly. I will tell you more about that. The other point is the bigger pot, which is following on in June. That will be the first pot in this space, and it's going to initially be at around £25 million, with a focus on AI and digital solutions alongside an accelerator programme. So that's our consumer-led flexibility challenge. It's the bigger of the 2 challenges. And then in the pipeline, we also have a long-duration energy storage challenge, where we're focused on low-cost LDES, 100-hour plus. We're looking at 1 megawatt scale demo by 2030, with a price engineering and manufacturing pathway to deployment on the grid at the gigawatt hour scale by 2035. And there will be a ministerial launch in the coming months. Okay, in the last few slides, I'm going to dig into the Flex Challenge a little bit more, because it's our baby, and we really do love it. Okay, so firstly, obligatory chart around the value of flexibility. This analysis is a little bit dated now, so it dates back to 2021. Many of you will be familiar with it, but it is still the reference point. So I'll talk a bit to how we currently think about this, and also how it's evolving. This analysis comes from the 2021 Smart Systems and Flexibility Plan. It is based on a scenario of 15 gigawatts of batteries, 15 gigawatts of flexible demand, and 27 gigawatts of interconnection. And That scenario is seen as delivering the high flexibility scenario, total system cost savings of 10 billion per annum in 2050, and a running total between 2020 and 2050 of 30 to 70 billion. Now, obviously, that's a broad flex estimate. Within that, the reported result is that consumer-led flexibility delivers 30 to 50% of this value. So people tend to take the 10 billion number and then say, okay, halve 30 to 50%, that's around 4 billion per year. I think what strikes me looking at this is that this is actually quite a low scenario compared to the levels that we're talking about now. So that's the first point. Secondly, there's a whole lot which has gone on in the interim years, and DESNZ have obviously committed to updating this by summer of this year. But the really, really big point for me is that consumer-led flexibility is the sharpest tool in our toolbox for driving energy bill savings to 2030. And it's the biggest driver of bill reductions per megawatt capacity. So the intuition there is that anything that's demand side can obviously cut costs across the whole supply chain, whereas if you have something which is just playing into the wholesale market, then that can feed through, but it's less impactful in terms of cost driver. And then the final point, which I wanted to just bring out a bit here. So something that I took from my time at the Treasury, which sometimes gets lost in the discussions around the industrial strategy, is that the single biggest driver for energy as to drive growth is through bill reductions. So if you're sitting in the Treasury and you're running a CGE model, then one of the things you can do is model a cheaper cost of electricity, and that flows all the way through the economy and results in a GDP impact. And that includes a number of multiplier effects because those cost savings then get redeployed through the economy. So this is just an engineering cost. It doesn't include those multiplier effects. And it's also why, if you speak to the people in the Treasury, then they will tell you that CLF is absolutely a priority for them, and it's absolutely central to how we do growth. And so that is, it's a key part of why it's such a priority for the mission. Here is a chart from the DESNZ and Ofgem plan from last year, and this illustrates my point around the growing role for CLF. So it's the dark blue here, and you can see it essentially growing to 75 gigawatts or thereabouts in 2050, which compared to the 15 gigawatts which we saw in the last chart is just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Okay, 2 last slides and then I'll wrap up. So I mentioned that we've got this funding pot which is coming out in June. Here are a few of the elements which we are currently interested in. There is a real focus on the potential for AI and digital products and services to accelerate progress in this space. And I've been working closely with the Energy Systems Catapult and the Digital Catapult to shape our thinking around what some of those innovation priorities are, what the most impactful areas are to focus on. A few of the other things that we're really interested in. So we think there's something around data for training AI models, and I'm working with the government Energy AI Commissioner, Lucy Yu, on that, along with the department. We're really interested in demand turn-up. I think there's something really important here around low-income households, and that is one of my core objectives. We see a really important role for industrial and commercial users, particularly for scaling. So I said it's at least 2 gigawatt. I want to do double, triple that if I can. And I see industrial and commercial sectors as being absolutely central to that. Market access and design is one of the most interesting bits, and I'll come on to it in my final slide. And then finally, rapid scaling through digitalization. So those are some of the components, and then on the right-hand side here, we have a little bit about how we're looking to do this. One of the things that I'm absolutely clear on is that we want to be working beyond demo, so we need to be investing in real-world solutions which endure. We're looking to scale through the 2030s in line with the mission, and then we're focused on growth and competitive advantage angle. So I really believe in the ingenuity and might of British innovators and skills. I come from a long line of engineers, going all the way back to Joseph Whitworth, actually, on my stepdad's side. So I live this and I believe it. Okay, my last slide. This is very much drawing on some thinking from my colleagues. So I'm incredibly fortunate in that David Wright is a non-exec director working alongside me, and he was previously the chief engineer at National Grid. And this represents some of his thinking and also a lot of people who I'd like to thank who fed into it. What we're looking to do is move forward thinking around market access, market design under the umbrella of local balancing. And there are a few elements here. So in terms of market access, value stacking is key. We're interested in price layering, and it was fascinating hearing the panel earlier today talk about the Australian example there. One of the things that we've been talking about is the dynamic duos idea, which is going around, which I think's got legs. ED3 incentives. So I was so struck talking to Matthew Bilson at Piccolo, because he said to me that Piccolo operate internationally across lots of markets, but he said the UK is still one of the best, if not the best market to do CLF because of some of the incentives which Ofgem have put in place in the past. So I think there's something really, really interesting we can build on here. And there is an opportunity within ED3 to do things differently, which is exciting. And then finally, operator confidence. So there, we're looking at building data-rich verification and forecasting frameworks and really building on the shoulders of giants when you look at programs like CrowdFlex, for instance. Okay, so this is my last slide. I wanted to leave you with two thoughts. So the first thought, I jokingly referenced our flexibility challenge as our baby, but basically it is a baby. I've been in post for coming up to 5 months now. It's probably graduated to the stage of toddler. It's got huge potential, but as the mother of 2 young kids, I really appreciate that it takes a village. So I want you to work with me and to take our beautiful toddler and to grow it to its potential. That's point one. Point two is, since coming into the role, one of the things I've been really struck by, and I hear it a lot, is just the levels of impatience. And I get it, because I worked on heat pump policy for over a decade. And the truth is that I'm impatient too, and I think that's a good thing. So I want us to bottle that impatience, because I believe that what we're going to do now is going to be transformational, and I want you to believe with me that we can do this, and we can do this now. Thank you.